We have this house model here in Revit, and it has these dirty, great big retaining walls at the front of the property there. You can see there's some shoring there closer to the boundary, but we have these great big concrete walls with big footings here to put the lower basement and the subfloor in, and had underground parking in there with a lift, a car lift there. So how can we detail those retaining walls? So let's have a swizz over to the lower ground floor plan, which shows the outline of the footing. And you can see here that we have this great big thick concrete retaining wall, 300 thick concrete retaining wall, and a big footing. And then there's another slab sitting on top of that, which is the basement boundary, or the lower ground floor boundary. And then the gap in between, it's a 600 wide zone, which is a plenum for mechanical ventilation of the air of the parking area, which is this zone in here. Is a parking area, and that's a turntable for the cars to go turn around and then go up a lift, and they can go out the ground floor on a lift. So let's have a look at this. I've got this section here, so you cut a section, and typically something might look like that. So it's modeled fairly accurately. You've got the footing, you've got the key of the footing there, you've got the concrete retaining wall. If I pull it up a bit and see the next level, you can see that this wall here, which is actually a 156 AFS ready wall, which is a plastic wall basically, but you pour concrete in the inside of it with some reinforcing. Actually, let's just whiz that over to shaded. You can see things clearer like that. You can see, well, there's the plenum, there's the lower ground, now there's a slab on top of that, so there'll be some grade placed over that footing. So let's detail up the base of this. So let's pull it back to how I was going to detail it on this sheet, which is just on the bottom part. So first of all, we'll probably do some dimensions. Dimensions make things more sensible. 300 there, 150 there, 150 there. We'll dimension this up. You can grab that little dot there, and you see how you can pull it out like that. Now you can also, you see by default it's got that little arc, which is okay, but you could tick the leader off and just have it in like that. And that's okay too. And you can also grab dimensions and pull that line if you want it a bit closer. Dimensioning's okay in Revit. I much prefer AutoCAD. I think there's more control for the draftsperson in there. You can just be more accurate with your dimensioning and your snaps. So we'll line those up. We'll give an overall one here too, and an overall one there. Now the other one was want break lines. So I have a family that I've created down in families, detail families, called detail break line 1 to 20, which is my scale 1 to 20. And it's just basically 2 lines. So you click and you click, and it has the line work in the middle end of a break line, and it has a masking region there. Now you can turn that off and on. There's a few things you can turn off and on there, like turn off the masking region. For example, if I turned it off on this one, blank area off, you can see the line work still there. If I turn it back on, that line work's gone. So let's just break lines across all of these. So only going to detail up to there. Also need dimensions, just that. I always use the align dimension. See that? The depth of that footing would be better out there. This is what I don't particularly like with the Revit dimensions. It's can't really get it accurate. It's a lot of eyeballing stuff in some areas, which I don't like, particularly as I'm an old school drafter, and we just did everything precision. 300, that little key there, 400 thick. We will give an overall dimension. That's a good thing to have. Quite a decent size footing. So 3 meters by 300 millimeters, or 3 meters by 450 millimeters deep. So it's a decent retaining wall, over 3 meters high. Now we need to put some reinforcement. Now, first of all, let's draw a line here which will represent the construction line. Now I keep my lines pretty simple. I have medium lines, thin lines. Thin lines are 3.25 thick, lines are 0.35 thick, and medium lines are probably 0.4 thick. And I don't use a code, I just keep it simple with that. I think that works pretty well with Revit. So let's just put a tag on that with a bit of text now. Text, CJ, has construction joint. So they know there's a construction joint there. Now we want some hatches around there. Now this is on grade, so that won't be a vertical cut there, but I just want one hidden line shown on the plan. So I'm not going to model that slopey bit there, but that's more likely. We use the annotate command and region. I'll show you a cool trick here. If I use the medium lines, which is the slab outline, if I just draw a line straight up there, 45, and then just whiz it around like this. Now here's the cunning bit. We'd make those three invisible lines, and set my fill profile to solid white, which is one I've set previously before, solid white. And if I edit that type, you can see that it's just the foreground pattern is white, it's solid, and it's no masking. So we'll go okay on that. Oh, it is masking, sorry, masking's on. And it makes that shape there. That's more likely how the concrete's going to be poured, because the grade that's put on top of this, the gravel, will just taper off here to that minimum width of 450. Now let's go more, let's put the rest of the grade in. So like I said, there'll probably be grade there, so, and a membrane. So we'll go to hidden lines, and I'll just click there, and I'll click that, and I'll just probably, well, I could click, yeah, off there's fine. So I'll just trim all that up now into a box. Now I'll make those two invisible, and then I shall trim that. So using that fillet command there, and I'll offset that 15 millimeters, but tick the copy off. And that's, those hidden lines are going to represent the waterproof membrane, or the plastic that goes under the concrete slab there. And then underneath that, there'll be some compacted gravel. Now I'm just going to offset this 5 mils because I don't want that invisible line right on there, but you're not going to see it. And then what I will use is one of my preset gravel ones. Where do I get my hatches from? How do I get those? Well, I get them from AutoCAD, the PAT file. You can import AutoCAD hatches, and then they stay in your model forever. So that one's good. I'll just look at that gravel. That was gravel grey. I'll just look at gravel dense. Oh, that's way too dense. So that one can't, these patterns came straight from AutoCAD into Revit. That looks pretty good. I might just taper that, give it a bit more funky style. It's a bit diagrammatic anyway. It's probably maybe more like that actually. Might represent it like that. If you ever get this situation where you've drawn a line like that and you want to have it masked there, just click on that and then the object, and you know there's masking there, and come to this thing here and say bring to front. And that didn't work. Bring to front. Maybe I'll just do this one and go send to back. Why isn't that working? Oh, you see why? The masking isn't quite covering. And I can grab that there and pull it down, and the masking covers it now, but didn't change the line work. So that's a way of doing that. Now we will have a membrane down this side too that the architect will specify. So let's do a similar thing here, but this project's in rock, sandstone, really high strength rock, probably 3000 kPa. So it'll be a vertical cut here. A lot of this will probably be just taking hydrostatic pressure more than actual soil loading. Let's just offset this 15. Oops. I don't like how that works in Revit. This happens a lot. It seems to get stuck there. Now we'll do a 300 wide gravel, and we'll have a vertical cut up there. Now that line's going to be fairly thick. I'll probably use wide lines on that, make it a bold one because that's the rock cut. And now I'll just put that across, and so these bottom two will be invisible lines. invisible lines and finish on that. And that's the gravel. That's good. You can see that's not super great, so I'm going to pull that dimension out. Pull that dimension out, make it a bit clearer, and probably pull that CJ into there. Pull that CJ into there. That text like that. Now we'll have an ag drain down the bottom here. Actually, we will make that. I think I'm going to change that to medium lines. Actually, it's getting a bit busy there. So medium lines, tick. Probably should have just drawn a line there. That one's going to be straight across. We'll come back to that. So that's gravel. That's great. Now we've got an ag drain down the bottom here. Now the way you can do that is, once again, you could do a filled region with a circle, and click the midpoint there and say, well, I'm going to use 100, so it's a 50mm radius. Make that fairly thick but not too thick, maybe lines, which is my 0.35 pen, and change that to solid white. And because it's sitting on top, it'll block it out. Now I also like to always show the geofabric around my ag drain, because I like to put them in geofabric socks as well for the civil stuff. So just move that up a bit more probably. And so we'll draw another circle. DL I typed in then, which was the shortcut for getting to the place detail lines. So we go to the hidden lines, just typed in SC for center, and then pull that out. Now we just want that a bit past it, so 55, that's not enough. 60, that looks like enough white space. So there's my ag drain. I can actually put a piece of text on there. If I go to text, the text button just there, I have preset already, I'm doing 2.5mm high text. And if we look at it, I'm using Swiss 721C and BT, which is a great drafting true type font. It's nice and narrow. Looks traditional sort of drafting style, but funky as well. So let's go there. I've got A1 title sheet, so I've always say do 2.5mm text for A1 plus size. If you're A3 or below, use 2mm text. So we're going to say here ag drain by others. Hydraulic engineer will probably be doing the design of that. In fact, I should probably put that ag drain to hydraulic engineers details. But that's important structurally too, because it takes the hydrostatic pressure off the wall as the water can get away and doesn't build up for too long. Now this one, yeah, I'd rather just keep the break there, so I'm just going to continue a line. I would like that broken further, so just put that as a thin line. Thin lines, thin lines, thin lines, thin lines. That's done. That one. Yep. See, that moves seamlessly through that. Now, were we going to show some rock here with the rock hatch? So once again, region. I'm going to go rock, rockety, rock, and probably just cut it there somewhere. And we'll drive it around like this. I'll keep consistent with the distance off from each other, and so as it wraps around here, so it looks good at drafting style. So let's just trim up our object that we're having as our boundary with the trim command. Now one thing I'm going to do now is click on the line that I want to move, and then grab this dimension here, this little dot, and pull it to where I want it to offset from, and make that 250. Now if I go to this one and do a similar thing, pull it down to there, and make it 250. Now it's even around. I'm going to pull those dimensions out. Maybe I'll make it 200. Probably still look all right. Now the other thing I want to do is make all of this invisible lines. I'm going to offset this one by 5mm, so it's not sitting right on there. Sometimes when you've got invisible lines stacked on objects, whoa, I'm going the opposite way, it can sort of block out that line. You don't want that to really happen. I should have, I'll just offset this by 5 to offset by 5. And then I'll use my one that I've already done, my Rock Hatch Grey, which I imported from AutoCAD years ago and still works. And that's the Rock Hatch, which is the 45 degree straight line, dash line, straight line. That represents rock whenever you see that. As opposed to the Earth one, which looks like that. That's undisturbed Earth, that hatch. When it's at 45 degrees, it's compacted Earth. So let's put that back to rock, grey. Yeah, I should have done that a different way, but I've got that little line there to fill up, which is a bit dumb. I could have done that in a cleverer way, but that's done. So there's our rock cuts. They excavate this. They put the wall on the gravel, some sort of membrane probably put down here to protect the gravel, protect the wall a bit more from hydrostatic. Got our construction line. Now we've got some reinforcing we want to put in. So it's going to be 2 layers of reinforcing coming straight up the wall there. Now, because it's built from the outside in, you don't have access to both sides because of the gravel here. You probably will see something a bit different here with the way you normally construct walls. So I'll put that on lines, which is my 0.35 pen. So I would imagine that I often see this wall, and it depends on your structural engineering here, if it's a cantilevered retaining wall and you haven't backfilled, it's a different load combination. But if it's a pinned at top retaining wall and they don't backfill until the top slab, the slab up above, that is, this slab up here reaches full strength, and the loading is, and the tension and compression is all different. So I'm sort of going to assume that they're going to backfill it before they pour the top slab because of its a construction access issue. So that will be driving a lot what I do here. So it'll be a 55 millimeter cover or something like that, maybe even 75. So I'll just draw it at 60 diagrammatically because that is the center line. Now this one's going to be a bit different though, and you'll see that in a second. So that one I'm going to do as 80. Now this, first of all, we need the starter bar. So I'm going to use N16s at 150, so that 150 centers, so a fair few. So diagrammatically, I'm going to show that as a 600 lap, offset that construction line. Ooh, leave the copy on so you can offset and you keep the original. Now I'm going to offset 15 millimeters, this line, and this line. That will represent my starter bars. So trim to that, trim to that. Well, I'll offset this 15. So 15 is good to use for concrete detailing. If you're consistent, you'll see it'll just look good as good drafting if you're consistent there. So let's bang that up there. So there's my starter bar. Whoa, I trimmed the... Oh no, that's right. I've trimmed the wrong ones here. So let's grab the ends of those and pull it up until it snaps to that end of that line. Lines up with it. And then grab that one, pull it up until it snaps to that. So that's right. Now these ones have to come down. Now we've got that. I'm going to pull that out there, tick that leader off because it's getting busy there. Now we've got the bars that are going, the horizontal bars. I'm going to change that to 30 and move that over by 5. This will become apparent in a minute. So my thinking here is that this vertical bar puts in, and then the horizontal bars are put from the outside in, from this direction in. And likewise for the outside bar, they put it vertical up and then that direction in. So the horizontal bars are on the inside here and the inside here, instead of that side and that side, which is typical for just plain block retaining walls because you access it from both sides. So let's go to annotate and component, repeating detail component. Now I've got a bunch preset in here, but if I go down to N16, I already have it. N16 at 150. And what it's set up to is I've got a family, N16 bars and 20 bars, all the bars in there. And I have maximum spacing at 150. So you click 2 points and it'll fill it out automatically at maximum 150 centers. So just grab down there, grab up there, and it's done. But then we just move it over 15. And there's your N16 bars at 150. Now that's pretty heavy. I'm thinking actually it should be N12s, sorry for the horizontal. N16's for the verticals. So I'll just change that to N12 bars. If you look at off here off the screen, I've got one preset, N12 at 150. So once you've got a bunch of stuff set up in your model, you are a lot quicker. Now I can go here and have that as lines permanently, so it's quicker. Now let's draw the reinforcing for the footing. So I mean top reinforcing only, an L bar here. Let's get the cover on it reasonably right. Let's go for the 65 and the 65. Why can't I? Is that already on there? That looks good enough. You could probably fiddle around with that if you really wanted to set it right. Get the cover. I think with structural drafting, it's just good that you clearly show that there is a decent cover, but you actually would follow the code on how you do the actual cover and on the general notes. So that needs a fillet radius because bars don't just go a hard return like that. So once again, DL, go up here to this one, which is the fillet arc. Go to radius here and click on 25. I've been favoring a lot lately. I did do 30 for years, but I'm onto that one now. Our horizontal bars will be a bit bigger here. All of these will be N16s, both of them, but the horizontal bars in the top here, which are basically just to tie this L bar to, will be N16s, but at 400 centers. Now I don't have an N16 at 400 preset. But what I can do is N16 at 300. I go edit type, duplicate, and I'll change that to 400. When you got the little 2 at the end, it's just a preset. Change that Revit does automatically. So N16's at 400, done, 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 and done. And then I'll just pull that up to my line, move it off 15 mils. 15 mils seems to work quite well for 16 and 12 bars. 20's at a pinch. It does okay. So that's our bars. Now we will have one down here and we will have one down here as well. But I'll draw that after I draw the starter bars here because they'll cog into the slab. So let's move that up 65 and offset that 15. Then use the fillet command, the DL, the fillet, the radius is 25, that one, and then, whoops, don't want to lock that to that, and that one. I removed constraint there, I don't know how I did that. 375, that's 400 cog. No, that doesn't look right. I'm going to 600 cog, so we'll go 575 plus the radius is 600. 575. If you ever get up, make a mistake like that, Control Z just does a undo real quick. 575. Ooh, 575. Now we'll have a bar here, and a bar here. So that's just a single bar. So if I go to annotate component, detail component, and if I just go to this and see how it's got that little search there, it's pretty hard to see, but N16. Now which one is it? I've got open fill, which is just a circle. I think it's this one, N16. Yep. So I'll have a bar down there, I'll have one there, and I'll have one there, and I'll have one there. That's basically just to tie the reinforcing to something so it keeps it neat. So there we've got it. Basically, I think that's done. Let's just check that. Now, I've just got to put the annotation on there for the reinforcing. Pull that out from the hatch. Might just make that view out a bit so it's... I know it doesn't print out, but it messes with your head a bit. Okay, so that's a Dinsel wall. So I'll just put that, I'll say, no, sorry, AFS ready wall. Refer to schedule for details. Just keep that loose as a goose. And I always like to put, got a really weird thing with my keyboard here. I've got to do it twice for it to enter in. Someone tell me what's going wrong there. But I always like to put quotes there around proprietary products, so it doesn't get mixed up with the word, as it's just a word. Now we'll have mesh in here. Mesh is shown as a hidden line. So I'll just jive it to there, and then we'll probably cog it down like that, which is, because it's only 30mm step, you can do that. It's okay in the code. So I'm going to change that lines to the hidden lines, and that represents mesh. Now that slab down there is a slab on grade, which has got a whole sheet of typical details. So we will just write on here, slab on ground, we'll call it. Slab on ground, refer to typical details on sheet S901. I think that's the right one. Let me just have a look at the S901. It's off the screen, but oh, I don't have typical concrete details yet, so that's to be done, to do. I can copy that from another project. It's always good to have always left align text. Never do right align text. I don't know why on earth people do that. It looks disgusting. Left align, keep things aligned. It's just good elements of style. So over here we're going to have it aligned straight up like that, and it's going to look a great looking detail. We'll pull that in a bit, pull that in a bit. This is where we shall, well, we'll detail this one down here first. So we'll call this, I think we can do this as a single note. No, maybe not. Maybe not, because they might get the wrong bars in the wrong direction. So I'll put N16 at 200, and I'll put L in there, L bars, because that describes the shape, because it's an L shaped. And then I'll copy that down, and I'll call this one N16 400 horizontal bars. Horizontal bars. I hate for them to mix that up. They get the 400s in the wrong direction. That would be a real disaster structurally. N12, I've got one in here already called Circle Leader. 2.5mm high text, so it's a circle leader, so you can just put it over the top of something like that, which is pretty cool. Always have those leaders at the similar angles. It's harder to do it in Revit, I know, but it's good style. When you can do it. Sometimes you can't, because it's just like, it's just getting too busy. But if you sort of get this sort of array thing happening, it's good looking drawings. We've also got some here. I'll just label those. I'll just label those as N16 horizontal, as shown. For those distribution bars, I guess, the tie bars. Now there's another one I've got dot, which is great when you want to put it on a surface. But I'll use that circle leader again. Plonk it in there. That looks razzmatazz. We will need a dimension here. What's going on there? Oh, I'm not clicking on it. We need a dimension on this. Ooh, I haven't quite got that right, but that's all right because we're going to override that. Replace with 300mm wide free draining gravel. That might be too long. I'll just see how that comes out, and I might adjust that. Yeah, I might put that. So I've got the top line there, 300mm wide free, spelt wrong, below the line here, draining gravel, free draining gravel, good, put that there. The text is opaque, so it will cover that, which is great. It's hard to see that because of the hatch, but that's okay. Now we'll pull this, copy this text up, copy, let's just move it straight up. You can see that little line there, that means vertical. And we shall put a text here, which will be N16 at 150 vertical bars and starter bars, both sides. Just thinking about style here. Might pull that up a bit, and then copy that one down. Once again, I'll keep the horizontal bars separate. You could put it in the same text, it'd still be okay. Oop, I'm just getting a bit of a jag there. Grab that, copy it down. I'm going to change that one to 2.5mm circle leader again, because it's going to plonk straight over that horizontal bar. And this time it's N12s at 150 horizontal bars, both sides. That looks like a terrible leader. Let's try if we can make that look a bit better. Not particularly great, the dimensions they're getting in the way, but it's not too bad. Keep that dimension there. Okay, let's just have a quick review of that. I haven't got the maximum retaining wall height on there. I'll do that on another drawing. This is, we've got the, you know what actually would be better? I pull that up there and pull that up there. If you keep objects out, dimensions and annotations out of the thing you're drawing, it does make it cleaner. It looks a lot better. Actually, I would rather that to be like this, and I draw a line off there. Ooh, it's there. If you can't see a line that you've drawn up there, it's because of this view area. You just need to pull it up a bit more. Now, what will happen is I'm seeing more of the wall, so I need to pull up my masking area a bit more and change that to thin lines, which is the same thickness as the dimension lines. I don't think that changed. Thin lines. Whoa, I got thick lines. I'm having a crazy moment here. And also I need to bring it to front. Bring to front. That's not working. Let's draw it again. I've done this before, so I know it works. Thin lines. Thin lines. Draw it across like that. And that 300 wide free draining gravel, that looks heaps better. And then let's pull this dimension up like that so they come in at the same angle, so they've got consistency in what they're pointing at. And I'll make sure that one doesn't get mistaken what it's pointing at. But of course you're saying vertical and horizontal. So there we go. We've got detail, we've got the dimensions, we've got the reinforcing, the size of the reinforcing. That is covered elsewhere. That is covered elsewhere. We've got the overall dimensions, so you can have an idea about how to excavate it. You've got the ag drain. That's done. So that's how you can do a detail. Now, the only other thing you need to do is plonk it on a sheet, which is not once you set that up, but that's for another video.